Hi, welcome back to Engine Shop Joe. This is kind of an interim video. I did a video on why is fault code 5867 active, and JR from West Virginia commented. And quick recap, that fault happened on one of our service trucks. The truck's a newer truck. It's heavily laden with electronics, the cameras, that kind of thing. And so the truck's about a year and a half old. It has gel cell batteries in the cab. That's OEM. They're in a box inside the cab, and the driver was having trouble with this fault because he shut his battery switch off as soon as he got out of the truck when he got home. And so we had asked him to recap a little bit, and a little bit you don't know. We had asked him, has this always happened? And he said, well, no, not always. He said, I usually don't shut the batteries off. So I said, well, why did you start shutting the batteries off? And he goes, well, he said, the batteries are getting old. And he said, it used to be on Monday, the thing would spin right over. But he said, the other day, I almost had to get my jump box out. So I thought, well, I better shut it off. So that's why the problem kind of just cropped up for him after not having a problem for a while. But back to JR's question. So JR mentioned about why don't they put a battery isolator box in so that you could have one battery that kept the ECM and whatever it needed to powered up so that everything could get shut down properly and then go to sleep. And there are a lot of applications that do that. Coaches will have isolation modules between batteries so that the customer could run an inverter, watch television or whatever without the generator running or the coach running. And then if they run that battery low in the morning, the coach would still start. And then once it starts the inverter box, it would allow all the batteries to charge off of the alternator by basically sharing current between the batteries. So that's one option, but it's an expensive one, and it means extra wiring, extra cost in the vehicle. Is it a good solution? It probably is, but again, it just adds extra cost. So I think that's one reason they don't do that. I only ever saw those boxes. I'm not going to mention the name. It's a popular name, but a company that makes it. I used to see those in motorhomes and in fire trucks and ambulances. And fire trucks and ambulances all have battery switches too that have to get shut off when they're parked. They get plugged in, so they have built-in trickle chargers or battery maintainers that are always charging them. Fire trucks always had, the ones I worked on, the bigger ones had two separate sets of batteries, and your battery switch was off, both A or B. And the newer, right towards the end of when I was working on vehicles, the newer fire trucks actually had a switch on the dash, a rocker switch that said battery power, and you shut the key off, and when you hit that battery switch, that thing was asleep. So that was just a big power relay that basically turned everything off. So that's another option. They could use a power relay like that. They could also put in a timer. When I did a little bit of work on generators, the transfer switches would have timers built into them, and you could set the timer on relays that would power parts of the transfer switch up or down. Or they would wait before they would allow power transfer, or if the generator was doing a test run cycle, maybe the relay was set to 5 minutes, so the generator would run for 5 minutes before the transfer switch would transfer the power back to the utility, that kind of a thing. So there are those type of relays that you can pre-program or you can buy programmed that you could use. But again, it's added expense. So in the cab, there's operator manuals for our trucks. I looked at an operator's manual for one of our brand new tractors, and I'm not kidding, it was that thick. And I said to the driver, I think it was like 487 pages. And I said to the driver, did you read that thing cover to cover? And he goes, I will by the time I retire. So uh, that was that, right? So they do tell you about that in the operator's manual. And I think that in the company I work for anyway, they ought to have a driver's training or even a card they hand a guy when he's new that just says, hey, these are the things you need to do. And on all the trucks that we have, they've got cameras all the way around them. They've got iPads in them. They've got Wi-Fi built in them. Basically, that works through the cell phone system. So they can keep in touch with things. So the cameras are real time if there's a problem, because we do haul big, heavy machines and equipment. So all that tends to really load down on the batteries. And I think that's why we have, that problem. So anyway, yes, there are some other options. And unfortunately, the days of where there was, you just flip the key off and you're done are over. And I don't know if there's a great solution. I personally think driver training or operator training is the best. And then the next best solution would be a timer relay, in my opinion, so the driver doesn't have to worry about anything. He just shuts the key off and goes, and everything takes care of itself. And then from there, well, on you go. And they probably even could build it into the ECM so that the ECM could turn a power relay on and off. I don't see why that couldn't happen either. So anyway, JW, thanks for your question. It was a good one. And thanks for joining me on Engine Shop Joe. See you next time.